Coming up today on That LTD Life, I'm going to be trying out the brand new pop-up builder that just hit AppSumo. It's called Onvocado. It looks pretty strong on the surface. There are spin-to-win widgets, there is a hello bar, your standard lead magnet pop-ups, as well as user feedback. I'm going to be trying out all of these features in this video and also doing some speed testing because they claim that this will not slow down your website, so we're going to find that out. Join me as I try out this tool from beginning to end so you can decide if it's a good fit for your business. If you're new to this channel, my name is Dave and I review new lifetime deals every single day of the week. I'm going to give you my honest feedback about whether or not something is worthwhile in my opinion, but in the end, it's up to you based on what you see in the screen recordings. If you want to support my channel, make sure you get subscribed and use my AppSumo link before making a purchase. All right, let's dive into the AppSumo deal page and then we'll go ahead and actually try out the tool. So here is Onvocado on AppSumo. Currently $59 is tier 1. There are several plans available. If we go down to the plan details here, you can see that tier 4 goes all the way up to $449. Basically, the way you'll choose your plan here is either based on how much monthly traffic you're getting, 30,000 all the way up to 1 million impressions, or the number of websites that you want to run it on, 1, 3, 10, or 30. Now, I do want to point out that this is a pretty similar tool to another lifetime deal that I've covered on this channel, but it was years ago, called ConvertBox. Actually, stylistically, they share quite a bit, as we'll see as we get into things. I actually think that Onvocado looks maybe a little bit more modern than ConvertBox. Well, ConvertBox has been on lifetime deal basically forever. It's a lifetime deal product. I don't think it's ever going to be sold as a monthly plan. But let's check out how the pricing compares between ConvertBox and Onvocado. So with ConvertBox, we get 250,000 views per month and 10 websites for a one-time fee of $495. They do have a larger plan, which they call the Pro plan here, and I can click and they'll show me the details for this. It's actually a bump offer. So when you go to purchase the regular account, you simply check this little box right here, and then you'll go ahead and get upgraded for an additional $95. That'll double the amount of views you get per month, as well as move you from 10 sites up to 50. So this is going to be $590. We do get 50 sites, but still at only 500,000 views per month. I wanted to point this out ahead of time because I know a lot of viewers out there are wanting to compare the different tools, and ConvertBox being what I think is the most popular competitor to Onvocado, definitely a little bit more expensive. Really the only upside to using something like ConvertBox is that you're going to get more domains and it has slightly more integrations. All right, so here is my Onvocado account. It is completely clean. As you can see here, this is the dashboard where I could create a new campaign. Now, before we get right into building a campaign, let's look at the templates that they have on offer because I think they are pretty stylish. So the template system is organized in multiple ways. So you could look for specific themes like Black Friday, Christmas, monochrome, New Year's, or winter, or you could look for specific types of pop-ups, such as gamification like spin to win, pop-ups, flyouts, and sticky bars, which are also commonly known as hello bars. On top of all that, you could also sort by what you're hoping to accomplish. So are you trying to grow your email list? Are you trying to get feedback or perform a survey from the visitors on your website? Maybe you want to announce something, or you want to get to know your customer a little bit better, or you have a coupon and offer. So I really like the way they've organized their template system. And honestly, with a platform like this, it's really important that you can find a usable template very quickly. I find that most customers don't want to spend an entire day or a weekend setting up a single pop-up. They just kind of want something that looks like everybody else's pop-up that will be somewhat on brand and get the job done. So if you're like, I need to get more signups for my email list, you just go over here, you click Grow Email List, and now I've got a few different options for ways to do that. By the way, these can be used in combination too. So let's say I don't want gamification to grow my email list, but I wouldn't mind a pop-up. So I'm going to choose pop-ups that are meant to grow my email list. And you know what? Is there anything Christmas themed? Let's find out. Yeah, here we go. I've got an opt-in form that is Christmas themed, will allow me to grow my email list. You get the point. Now it's February as I'm recording this, so I really don't have any interest in covering Christmas. Let's go ahead and check what we've got for monochrome. All right. These look good. Monochrome is good because it's kind of adaptable to any website, right? It's more of a wireframe type of appearance. So you can easily go into a monochrome design and add your own brand colors. So this is really smart of them to include this. Too many template builders will have very beautiful looking templates, but they're actually not that usable simply because they are so specifically designed. When you put them on your own website, they don't fit in. So let's see how we might adapt a monochrome design to work with my existing website. Here is my website, by the way, just so you know kind of the design style that I'm going for. I've got a course landing page here. Let's say I wanted to sell this $49 course, have a little discount code. You can kind of see the overall styles, the different colors we've got going on this page. And here we are, we're taken right into the editor where we can begin to customize the pop-up. Overall, very intuitive editor, very simple to use. We've got our steps over here to the left. So this is the primary screen. And then we also have the thank you screen right over here. If I wanted to add in an additional screen, I could simply click right there and I'd have the ability to create another screen. I don't want to do that right now, so I can hit the trash can button. It will go away. To point out, when I hovered over that trash can, there's also a clone button up here. So let's say I was doing maybe a quiz and I wanted to have multiple screens that look very similar, but just change a few things about it, like the question on a step-to-step basis, I could easily clone a step as well. So we'll clear that out, just have two simple pages here, and let's begin to customize this to make it look a little bit more on brand. The first thing I'm going to do is go over to the theme section over here. You can see I've got a primary color and a secondary color. I'm going to go ahead and change the primary color to be black. I'll just drag the slider down here, and I'll change the secondary color to be the same color that we have on our website. Most of the buttons on our website are kind of this yellowish color. So there we go. We're already getting pretty close to what the buttons look like on our website. Let me see if I can show you one. Here you go. You can see it's obviously a little bit different, but we're a lot closer than we were when we just loaded up the template. Now, the next thing I want to do is change the font. Now, unfortunately, I can't upload my own custom font like we use on our website here, but I do get a pretty decent choice of different fonts to choose from. These are all going to be Google fonts. It's not every Google font available, but you get a pretty decent selection here. I'd say probably right around 30 or so different fonts. All right, I'm gonna go with Inter because I think that still always looks really good. And I'm gonna move on from the theme section over here. Now I can continue to customize this. Like if I don't want this text to be yellow, don't worry, we don't have to have it that way. So I'll click on this headline and then I've got a text color for the specific headline. I do want that to be the black color, so very easy to choose that. And like, for example, this button text, I'd like to make it a little bit more bold. So I'll go ahead and choose bold right over here. And there, it looks a lot better. I'd also like to have a little bit more rounded corners to fit with our website. So I'll just dial this up a little bit. You can see the buttons on our website have pretty rounded corners, and it also has a fairly large drop shadow. I don't know if I'll be able to add that inside of Onvocado or not. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's any options for shadows on buttons. Not the end of the world here, but it does bring up an idea that it would be nice to have a spot for custom CSS so that if you do know CSS or you're capable of using something like Claude or ChatGPT to write some custom CSS for you, you'd have that ability. But currently, I'm not seeing a little box here to dump any additional code in. I can change the border width, however, and I'm just going to boost that up to be 3. I think that looks pretty good. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and style the rest of this to kind of match our website, and then I'll show you how to actually load it on the site next. Okay, I've got everything looking pretty decent here. A few things I want to point out to you before I show you how to connect it up to WordPress or any website you might want to use it on is that it's very easy to change any of this copy. So if I didn't want to say step into style, I can simply click right here, and it's not an inline editor, meaning that I can't change it right on the canvas, but there is a field right over here to fill in the blank essentially. So very easy to utilize. It works the same way for any of the other fields that you might see on the screen. And if you want to add in additional fields, you can definitely do that as well. All you have to do is click anywhere on the canvas that has this checkerboard pattern that's going to represent it being transparent, right? So it's not the current design. If I click over here, I'll see the list of widgets that are available to me. So I can add in an additional headline if I wanted to, some extra text, an image, a button, or even a voucher if I wanted. So let's go ahead and just drag this where it goes. And this is where you could put your coupon codes. They even have little countdown timers. So let's say you want to have some scarcity, maybe an event is coming up and you want to let people know when it's ending. You can drop a little countdown timer in there, style it as you see fit, and you'll be good to go. Another thing I wanted to point out is the fact that it's very easy to swap out any of the images that you might see in the templates. Just click on the image and then you can either drag and drop or click and upload your own content. Might be nice if they had a built-in integration with Pexels or Unsplash, something like that, so you could easily grab some stock imagery, but you're probably gonna have better results using your own product photos. Let's say you're putting this on an e-commerce website. I think this tool would be great to sell some products on an e-commerce site. Something like WooCommerce or Shopify would work really well. For now, I'm just uploading my own mug here, so it's looking pretty good. I can choose the background style so I can contain it or make it go full width, or I could align it to top, center, or bottom. Now, seeing as I've already made it full width, this won't really make much of a difference, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. All right, last thing to show you on this design step right here. Next, we'll talk about how to load it onto your website in the display and publish settings. But over here under design, if you go to, just the general settings area. So again, to get to this, you click anywhere on the transparency area, then click on settings. You can actually choose where the widget will load in from. By default, this particular template is gonna come in dead center, but I could easily position it wherever I'd like on the screen. I'm gonna stick with dead center because for this style, it definitely makes the most sense. I can choose an animation like fade, slide in, or zoom. Fade sounds good to me. And I can also hide the overlay if I'd like. The overlay is going to be kind of like the background color that might overlay on top of your existing website to really focus people's eyes in on the pop-up. Now, of course, there's also going to be a close button, and I noticed by default, it's pretty hard to see here. Personally, I hate it when I'm on a website and I can't find the close button, so I'm going to change the color of the X here to be a little bit more obvious. I'm just going to make it black. I want you to be able to see that close button. I don't want to irritate you. There are some styling options here in terms of width. We're on normal right now. We could make it small, which just makes everything a little bit taller, and we could also make it large, which actually is cutting off my head here. So I think normal probably looked best for this particular design. We do have an option for the overall background color of our pop-up. So let's say I didn't want it to be white. I could choose a different color here. Now, I personally like the white look, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick with that, but know that's an option. You could also upload a background image if you prefer. Just a few other things we can do with a simple toggle switch here. We can round the corners of our pop-up. That looks pretty nice. The only thing I don't care for is how it's positioned, the close button. Now, you can't change the position of that close button, right? You can either turn it off or you get stuck with it right up there. So yeah, not a big fan of that. I wish it just had a little bit more padding when I turned on the rounded borders. But other than that, the only other option I have is to hide the pop-up on mobile. Let's say I don't think it's gonna look very good on mobile, or I don't wanna irritate people on their phone. I could toggle this switch to turn that pop-up off. Okay, we are ready to move on from the design phase to the display phase. So I'll click right up here and now I can see my display settings. Now by default, it's on to automatic trigger. They have an algorithm that's going to identify when is the opportune time to actually display this pop-up to users. That's on by default. You could show other options, right? You could do an exit intent, which means that as their mouse hovers over to maybe go to a different website, it's gonna show the pop-up at that point. I think one of those two settings is gonna be best for collecting leads, particularly if you're trying to offer someone a deal. Maybe doing that on exit intent could possibly sway them to stick around. But yeah, this is the type of thing that you want to test and try out on your website to see what gets the best results. Other options for displaying the widget are to show after a particular duration of time, after someone has scrolled down a page, or after they have clicked on a particular element. So if you wanted this as more of like a pop-up when someone clicks a button, you choose clicked based right here. You'll have to choose a particular class or a target, and then you'll be able to essentially use this as, maybe there's a button to sign up for your email list. You click that button and then it displays the modal pop-up. Looks pretty nice, pretty common thing to experience on the web, and now you can do it without any actual coding going on. So I'm gonna use this automatic trigger to get started. The next option we have down here is frequency. So how often should this pop-up display? A maximum of 2 times per visitor is the default, with at least 1 hour between the 2 appearances. You can change this to be minutes, seconds, days, whatever you prefer. And let's say you wanna do some geolocating. Maybe you wanna have specific deals for people in specific areas. You can target based on location down here. So by default, we're gonna show this pop-up to people in all locations, but maybe I want to find people only in the United States or only in particular cities, so that maybe I do, local services and I can give people a better deal if they're closer to me. Well, I could target those cities right here. Just be aware that any sort of geolocation is not going to be 100% flawless. People will always be able to game the system by using things like VPNs. So just know that it's not going to be 100%. 100%, but still it can be a nice thing to do. All right, I'm gonna leave mine set to show in all locations, and we can proceed to step 3, which is to publish. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and assign this a campaign name. I can turn off the avocado watermark. It's actually off by default. I've got my domain set here. If I only want it to show on specific pages, I can toggle this on and then have it only display on specific pages. I'm good with it being on the entire website. I can set a schedule here, basically giving this an end date. Next up, let's talk about integrations. Now, by default, all of your information is going to be stored inside of Onvocado. So if you don't have another platform yet and you just want to get started collecting leads, well, don't worry. You can easily just have all of the data stored right in Onvocado. But if you do have a third-party platform for something like email marketing, well, you'll probably be able to connect it up one way or another to Onvocado. They mention Zapier right here. There's also webhooks, which is a great free way to send information around to different applications. Most, at least self-hosted tools like Fluent CRM and FunnelKit automations, those are going to support webhooks at this point. So that's a great way to integrate with those platforms. But we've also got a lot of the big names here like Klaviyo, Brevo, GetResponse, SendFox, the tool from AppSumo themselves. Really great option for doing some basic email marketing. Yeah, you can see all of the options here. It's actually quite in-depth, maybe not quite as complete as something like ConvertBox, which here are the integrations with ConvertBox, but we are getting pretty darn close. Not bad for Onvocado being a fairly new tool. All right, the next step is to get the actual code on your website so that it can begin showing the pop-up and collecting leads. To do this is very simple. If you've got a regular website, you can just grab the code right here, copy and paste it in. If you're using something like WordPress, there is a dedicated plugin. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So here's my WordPress website here. I'm gonna go ahead and search for Onvocado. And here it is. I'll simply install the plugin, hit activate. And now with the plugin activated under settings Onvocado, I've got this screen right up here, which allows me to connect up my Onvocado account by entering my key. Now I can see the key right inside of this code right here. If you go out to the dashboard, they're gonna have a dedicated section to set up WordPress. So you could definitely do it there as well. But however, I've not saved my edits yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and just copy the key right out of the code. We'll paste it in. There we go. I'm gonna hit save changes. It says my settings have been saved and updated, and now I'm essentially done with this plugin. It's gonna link up to my Onvocado account. I'll make any changes that I want there in terms of what pages pop-ups are displayed on and things like that. The only thing to be careful of is that you clear any caching, any page caching you have on your website that would prevent the actual code from displaying. So I'm gonna go ahead and just purge the cache of the website here. I am using Cloudflare, so I'll purge everything on this side, and then we can go ahead and check to make sure that it's actually displaying properly inside of Onvocado. All right, so step 1 is to install the pixel, which I just did via their WordPress plugin. I could have just copied this code and inserted it into the actual code of my website. Now, step 2 is to verify that the pixel is loading correctly. If you've cleared your cache, you should be golden here, but you can check to make sure by clicking this little button right here, which is actually gonna load up and open your website in a separate window. Now, I'm currently logged in as administrator here. Just a word of caution, when you're logged in as the administrator on a WordPress website anyway, it's not going to display any cached content at all. So if you forgot to clear your cache, it could actually tell you that the pixel is present, but it won't be displayed for any of your visitors until you clear that cache. So it looks like I'm having the opposite problem where I'm logged in as administrator and it's still not able to find the code on the website. So let's investigate. So I'm just gonna resize this. I went ahead and opened up the developer tools and I'm just gonna search for Onvocado. And I can see here that the script is loading, but for whatever reason, they are not detecting it. So I went ahead and published this. I'm gonna go back to the dashboard and see if I can't kind of reload this on the front end and get it to notice the pixel because it's clearly displaying properly. So here's the dashboard. It does show that the pixel is not loading correctly. So I'm gonna go ahead and go under the settings here, very similar to what we just saw. And I'm gonna go ahead and try to re-verify this. And that time it did work. So if you run into any trouble at all, just try going back out to the dashboard, basically reloading that page. All right, you can see I've got an actual impression here from reloading the code. Now, what I wanna do is see how this looks, and then we're gonna do a speed test where I turn off the widget and then turn it back on. We'll see if it makes any difference at all on Google Page Speed Insights. I take those measurements with a giant grain of salt. I don't think they're very indicative of how performant your website is going to be, but I know it's what you wanna see, so let's see how it actually impacts the score. All right, first, let's see what it looks like. So here is the website loaded up inside of a private window. So I'm not logged in here. It'll appear as though it's my very first visit to the page. And let's say I was gonna go away. Was it gonna load there? Nope. Now remember, it's gonna use their algorithm to decide when to display the widget. I don't know when that's going to be, but hopefully it's fairly soon. I'm gonna scroll through a page here a little bit. And here we go. I've actually got my tracking widget to display. Let's go ahead and fill this out just to see how the data gets into Onvocado. All right, there's my email address. Let's submit this. It says thank you, and then I've got a link here to take me to my latest reviews. However, I'm going to close out of this and we are good to go. All right, so let's head back over to Onvocado, see what those inputs look like, and then I'm gonna do that speed test. Here's my dashboard. I'm gonna reload this page. You can see I've got 2 impressions now with 1 conversion and 1 lead. I can go over to my analytics where it's going to show me the total number of impressions, total number of conversions, the conversion rate, and the total emails collected. If I go over to the responses tab up here, I can see the actual responses as well as what page the response came from and what device someone was on. This is all organized by campaign, by the way. So I call this one Grow List Demo, but you could easily have different campaigns for different objectives in your business. Here's that embed tab I was mentioning earlier, by the way. There is the directions here for WordPress. If you click on this, you will see the key that you need to copy and paste, so you don't have to grab it out of that code. All right, let's go ahead and run a page speed test on my website. I'm gonna go ahead and test the main page right here. We'll hit analyze and we'll see if that code snippet actually shows up in the results. Then I'll disable it and we'll see how the page speed insights have changed. All right, here we go. I've got the results back, a 78 on performance. And if I go over to desktop, I've got 96. As we scroll down here, I will confirm that we've got the actual bit of code in question. Yeah, here we go. We can see the Onvocado code is loading. It is currently 92.6 kilobytes, so very small here, smaller than Google Tag Manager itself. So in my opinion, no real problem with this, but let's go ahead and disable it and see how that might affect our page speed scores, going from a 78 on mobile and 96 on desktop. So I'm just gonna deactivate the plugin itself here. And once again, clear the cache. I've confirmed in a private window that I do not have the code anywhere on my website any longer. And let's go ahead and reload the page speed insights. I'm going to analyze the exact same page and we'll see if we go up or down from those original scores. Now keep in mind that if you just run 2 different back-to-back page speed tests, sometimes you get a little bit different numbers. So this could go up or it could go down here. As long as it's not fairly significant, I'm not going to be super shocked. All right, so our page speed score went up to 79 on mobile, and on desktop, we're still at 96. So virtually no change here. All right, I wanna round this video out by just trying a bunch of the other templates to show you what they look like, and you can get a good idea if any of them will work on your website. So let me go ahead and load a bunch of them up, and then we can all look at them together. Okay, so here is Spin to Win. This is a popular thing you see on a lot of e-commerce sites where you can offer people discounts, free things like that. So you just enter in your email address, hit spin, the wheel begins to spin, and then you're taken to a second step where you get your discount code. So you'd have to set this up on your e-commerce store, load the codes into their builder here, which I'll show you how to do. Very, very simple. Okay, so here is the template. What you do is go ahead and click on the wheel itself, and then under wheel content, this is where you can go ahead and put in your prizes. So whether it's a gift card, a coffee mug, a t-shirt, a discount code, things like that, you can set up whatever works for your business, and then you can set a weighted percentage. So how often is this prize going to be awarded? Maybe you've got something very high value and you only want it to be awarded, 1 or 2% of the time. Otherwise, maybe they get something a little less significant. And again, all of the other edits we did inside of the editor for the regular pop-up would apply here to the Spin to Win. So the colors, the fonts, everything you can customize exactly as you need for your business. I really like their feedback and survey pop-ups as well. I'll show you a couple of them here quickly inside of the templates. So we can open up this one. It's kind of an opinion request type of thing, like, hey, why didn't you make that purchase? Or why are you leaving the website? There's also this one asking how likely you are to recommend them. So you can choose a certain number of stars here, leave a comment and submit feedback. Or if you want to do a longer form survey, you can do that as well. I like the kind of subtle, very professional looking, like, hey, we've got 3 questions for you. It'll take you 20 seconds or less. You can go ahead and just blast through a couple of very important but easy, low friction questions that your customers can answer. Did I find what I was looking for? Well, no, I did not. On a scale of 1 to 5, how easy was it to find the information? Well, let's say 4. And then any difficulties or issues with our website. We've also got hello bars, which you can display anything you want, from discount codes to announcements of sales. They just run along the top of your website like this. Here is a template that shows a discount code, but you could just as easily announce a sale. Like, for example, AppSumo is using this style widget right now. Now, here's another interesting way for how you could use Onvocado, a cookies policy consent pop-up. So let's go ahead and preview this. Basically, a little pop-up to say, hey, we're using cookies on our website. You can check out our privacy policy and then either accept or decline. I'll just show you a couple other designs that I think look quite nice. Here is a pop-up that's kind of in the lower right-hand corner. Looks pretty good, has one of their countdown timers. And then there's this more dark kind of brown one, a little bit moodier than the other very minimalistic ones we've seen. So just figure I'd show you this with a different color scheme. And then there's this Black Friday banner here, which has some very obvious, in my opinion, kind of AI inspired artwork off to the side. And we were talking about hello bars, but you can put them at the top or the bottom of the screen. They don't always have to be at the top. So I'm going to give you my final score in a moment, but I want to ask you to hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video, and consider clicking on my AppSumo link before making your next purchase over at AppSumo. All right, Onvocado, a very exciting tool in my opinion. I know it's not flashy, there's no AI here, but overall, this is a tool that you can put on your website that will generate revenue for you, and nothing is more exciting than that in my opinion. I'm gonna give Onvocado an 8.3 out of 10. This is one of the most well thought out, nicely designed tools that I've seen in AppSumo in quite a while. I definitely recommend checking it out and grabbing it for your website, especially if you don't have another tool that does something similar. That's gonna do it for this video. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you get subscribed. Leave me a comment down below, even just for the algorithm is very much appreciated. I will see you in the next review.